anyone really excited about that spin-off Walking Dead show which is happening over the summer? I don't know how to feel about it quite yet. Hello once again, watchers of Good TV. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my college dorm room. Now today, I'm going to be talking about The Walking Dead Season 5, and so let's get into it. The finale aired last night. I'll be covering both the first and second halves of the season, and towards the end of the video, I will touch on the finale briefly. Now, when we left our group at the end of Season 4, they had arrived in Terminus, and this is a place where I assumed they were going to spend at least a couple episodes in. No, they spend the premiere in Terminus, and then they burn to the ground, and then they go off and wander around for the rest of a good chunk of the season. So that was the first kind of pitfall that I thought the show had. I thought they could have made a lot better use of Terminus. I don't remember if it's really in the comics at all, so they might not have just had a lot of content for it, but then why would they kind of build up the whole second half of Season 4 to them getting to Terminus? It just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. The group in general is still very, very good. I'm not going to talk on every single actor because that would take forever. Andrew Lincoln still heads the show. He is still phenomenal. His usage of Rick and the evolution of the character from first season to now is just phenomenal, and just seeing the large amount of PTSD that him and a lot of characters on the show now have and have to deal with more in the second half of the season is very interesting to look at. Carol continues to be a very interesting character as well. Her evolutions, along with Rick, from the first season to now, is very interesting because you get to see her be a little bit more manipulative. She's very hardened after her experiences, and it's kind of a neat thing to look at her character in this season now. One scene from the first half of the season which really stood out to me is the church scene in which Rick and his group trap the people that are trying to follow them and kill them, and they just slaughter them in the church. I thought that scene was fantastic because it really just shows how unimportant certain buildings like churches are in this type of zombie apocalypse world. The name of the episode is just 4 walls and a roof, and it just fit perfectly. That's all this is nowadays, and it's kind of cool that they touch on that. Now, as this first half of the season went on, they began to split up a lot of the group, and so I think there were like 3 or 4 episodes where they just focused on various characters and just solely on those characters. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Most of the time it worked fine. One of the people that they split up is Beth, and she had her own little storyline going on in a hospital where she had been taken to and she was working in. And I thought that was fine. We got to meet some interesting characters. I don't remember any of them being in the comics, so you knew that they weren't going to last too long. But the whole hospital storyline didn't really seem to have a lot of purpose, honestly, because I'll touch on this a little bit more in the latter part of the review, but nothing which kind of came out of it outside of Beth's death really had any sort of consequential thing and really lasted for a long chunk of time. So that whole build up to the mid-season finale, while it was well done and I did enjoy watching it, it just ultimately made the whole hospital storyline seem kind of unimportant because it's just kind of like a side plot to kind of lengthen the time until the group got to Alexandria, where they will end up spending a large amount of time over the next couple of seasons. So that's my bit on the first half of Season 5 of The Walking Dead. Let me know what you guys thought of it down in the comments down below for the first half. I'm going to touch on the second half now. The second half opens up the first episode with Tyrese's death, and this was something which I did not expect to see happen at all. I thought that they did his death scene in a very interesting way because he saw kind of the echoes or the ghosts or whatever you want to call them of the past, and we got to see reappearances of the governor, of past characters, of the 2 little girls who Carol ended up having to kill. It was just kind of a cool thing to see, and I thought that they did that in a very, very well done way. Someone who I forgot to mention from the first half season who they meet is Father Gabriel, and he is probably one of the more annoying characters of this show because I thought that he was going to kind of evolve into more of a cool character, but he's honestly just one of the more annoying, cowardly characters of this whole show. And while you do feel sorry for him for maybe the first couple episodes that he's in, after a point he just gets very, very frustratingly annoying, and it kind of continues through the finale. A couple episodes into the second half of this season, they do arrive in Alexandria. This is, like I said earlier, where they will end up spending most of their time at over the next couple seasons, if the comics are going to tell us anything about that, and assuming that they are going to follow that more or less how it's structured. Because as far as I know, they're not even out of Alexandria yet in the comics, so I don't think they're going to be leaving anytime soon to go off on their own little thing. Now, Alexandria as a community is much different than Woodbury. It's not ruled over by a leader who has a bunch of hidden secrets. It's ruled by a woman named Deanna, and she is very much about keeping her people safe and secure, but also being able to provide for them. And this is a generally good community. There's houses, there's people who are happy, but they're all very, very ignorant about the outside world and the zombie apocalypse which surrounds them. They're enclosed by these massive walls. They have not experienced anything that Rick's group has done. And so it frustrates Rick, Carol, Daryl, a lot of these characters to a very high extent, because they're all very matured and hardened, and they have come out of this nightmare per se, and it's just very interesting to see how that all changes. Another person who died in the first half of the season is Bob. He got taken by the cannibals, and then he ended up being infected, and then ended up getting killed. His death, I don't remember it as being very significant. Honestly, I had forgotten it until I started filming this review. Bob as a character, he didn't last terribly long, but it was still kind of an interesting character. I think his final episode was the one where we got to really see him a lot more and dive into his character a lot more, which, I mean, is kind of typical for how shows like this do the final episode for characters. We see a focus on them, and then they get taken down. The last death of the season is Noah's death, and this was a character's death who I did not see coming at all. Usually The Walking Dead has been kind of pretty lenient, not really at the level of Game of Thrones where it's just going to kill off a character every episode. This season had quite a few main character deaths, and it kind of surprised me in that regard. But seeing Noah get killed and having Glenn have to watch that happen was one of the most brutal scenes and one of the goriest scenes of the whole season, and maybe of the whole show. And that was a death which I did not see coming at all. I figured that they were just going to get out of it fine. But having Noah get killed off, that is kind of why I have the opinion that the hospital bit didn't really end up mattering, because we have Noah who gets killed off fairly soon after that, and the only significant outcome is Beth's death. No other hospital people end up coming with them or anything like that. So now I'm going to touch on the season 5 finale, which aired last night. So if you are not at that point, have not seen the finale, probably stop watching this now. I thank you for watching. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I'd appreciate it immensely. I'm just going to touch on the finale really, really quickly. One of the main things which happened in this finale is Rick's encounter with the walkers. Gabriel left the gate open because he's a pissed off little person, and he let in some walkers apparently, and so Rick had to fight them off. This was kind of a nice thing to see, because we have a large chunk of the Alexandria arc thus far kind of rehumanizing Rick's group and lessening their wild instinct per se and survival instinct. And we get to see kind of these two worlds collide. We have walkers in this safe area of Alexandria, and we see Rick's survival instinct side come out to play, and it's really nice to see that, and I think that's more where the show is going to end up going as the Alexandria plotline continues to grow and thicken. One thing which really did surprise me is that there were no real significant deaths in this finale. I was expecting maybe Glenn to die or for Daryl to die, because I saw hints of that all over the social media. Yeah, so I was a little bit surprised by that. I don't really know who these wolf guys are either. I don't remember if they were in the comics or not, but I'm really looking forward to a major villain who probably eclipses the governor in terms of evilness, and I'm really looking forward to his introduction. My guess is it'll be the season 6 mid-season finale, but I don't know, it'll be pretty cool. But if anything, this finale is more just to kind of set up the tone that will be season 6. Is what it kind of seemed like. It had some really cool scenes. It had something straight out of the comics. We have Pete killing Deanna's husband, and then she giving Rick the go-ahead to take him down. And so that was straight out of the comics, and I really liked seeing that. It was obviously predictable for me, but not as much for people who aren't familiar with it. So, yeah, as a whole, I did enjoy season 5. I thought the first half could have been a little bit better. I enjoyed watching it, though, for what it was, just because it was something outside of what the comics have dealt with, as far as I can remember. And so it's kind of cool seeing that. And then I'm really looking forward to seeing where the whole Alexandria thing ends up going, because this is a very big arc in the comics, and I'm curious to see if they do it justice. So, those are my thoughts. Leave yours in the comments down below. What did you think of The Walking Dead Season 5? Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Once again, if you so choose, I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my good people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.